Okay, now this is another entry for the reference section. It has to do with the last entry, the reference section. And that has to do with the addition of a new function, or several new functions, two of them private, all of them private in fact, to the spin button control class, and the removal of four functions. Here's the interface as it stands. I can use the history to show you what's changed in the interface. Let's see how far back. That's far enough back. Okay, now as far as the public part goes, I added a second constructor which takes an integer identifier for the buddy control. So there's the control ID for the spinner, but each spinner is associated with a buddy, and you can optionally specify that control ID in the constructor, and that will have the effect of linking the buddy, the control with that ID as the buddy of this spinner. Now we have set pause, excel, and range. Set range 32 I removed. Get range accordingly was removed. 32. Get range 32 was accordingly removed. And similarly with these 32 versions, those were also removed. So it only works with 16-bit numbers, and you will only ever want to use 16-bit numbers for a spinner. If you want to use big numbers on a spinner, all you do is just take your 16-bit number and multiply by attendance 2 to the 16. You could even say times 0x 1000 on your dialog. Internally, I had noticed a problem. The reason this came up was because I noticed a problem. I thought I was completely protected with my notepad. Where are we now? Can't be debugged, has to be Unicode. Although the ranges and everything were set correctly for the control for the in the options dialog, I was relying on the fact that I could never get I thought I could never get a return value that was outside of the range, and I was relying on that fact, but I thought it was a fact, which wasn't, in order to remove all of the entries from the recent file list, which now can have an infinite number of entries, well, up to 300. Well, I'll pause this and let it build. Okay, the build succeeded. Now I won't be able to reproduce it with this version because I'm protected now, but I can show you anyway. In these options, there are these spinners, right? They go up and down, and here this one's capped at 16 and lower cap at 5. But these edit controls are not read-only. If I wanted to, I can type in a 0 here, right? Now, 0.5 is still 5 as far as when I retrieve a value. and that should still be fine. So that's okay. Oh, what if I just typed in 0 here? See, it didn't let me. Or what if I wanted to make it 85? I typed in 8 there, you can see. It's hard to do it now. And now I'm going to try and type a 0. You may have seen it. It quickly went to 80 and then jumped back to 16. So I can only get the maximum number 16 and no more. And I need that to be true because there are only 16 possible number assignments in the list of messages for these values. And so if anything gets out of range, I'm going to be walking over other assigned values in the you look at resource.h. I even typed them in. I didn't have to type them in, but I typed them in to just be absolutely sure that they were there and reserved. Right here, oh, that's fonts. The other one, the other ranges, they're all typed in somewhere else. Yeah, they're typed in one by one. Let's see now. I just click on any one of these. Here, see? Up to 16. From 1 to 16. That amounts to 16 possible entries. And so those identifiers are reserved. And there's a first and last that you can use to get the total. So those are reserved numbers. If anything goes outside of that range, the code won't work because I rely on that being a fact in order to remove the elements from that list. Okay. Now, first off, I just want to make sure that you couldn't even enter anything outside of the range. Now, the way to do that, the only way to do that, is to know what the buddy window is for the spinner, which is the reason why I had added extra stuff to do with buddies. And then subclass the buddies window procedure, which I did, and here's the procedure. This is private stuff. Where current project should work. Oh. Okay. Now forgetting about how this gets installed, it gets installed. And this becomes the window procedure for the buddy. And stored in the user data part by magical means is a pointer, copy of a pointer to the spin control associated with this buddy. This buddy is usually an edit control. It doesn't have to be. You could have a spinner whose buddy is, a picture, if you wanted. The resource editor let it go anywhere. But it's supposed to be an edit control. So now, what I want to do is, if a message comes along that might change the text in the buddy, then I want to do something. And this is all I could think of. And there can be keyboard messages, like what I just did, right? Somebody could send a set text message. No reason why that's not impossible. Another way to set the text of an edit control is to change its handle value. So these are the only ones I could think of. And I think that's an exhaustive list, but there may be more. Now, if it's neither of these messages, I'll just call the old WinProc and forget about it. Otherwise, I get the window text before the message is processed. I'm asserting here's where the is numeric comes in. Now these edit spinner edit boxes, spinners themselves, can have an associated radix. I changed this word to radix because base got me messed up and cost me about 6 hours heartache, hell, because I thought base was the base of the range. And it's very easy to get that mixed up when you're talking about a thing that has a range, a ranged thing, and then you have the word base show up. Automatically your mind thinks the base of the range, right? Or something. Or the base position. Anyway, can't get confused with this word. So now this is just an assertion, it doesn't do anything. Call the window proc with whatever the message is. Then I get the string after the message is processed. If the string is empty or if it hasn't changed, there's nothing for me to do. We're assuming we're already in a good state. Now this is actually false. I want to use my new is numeric. Okay, found a bug. So if the string if it's not a numeric string, then I'm just replacing the window text with what we had before. Basically disallow that edit, whatever it was, and make a beep. However, now I've got a problem. A2L is not going to work with base 16, so I'm going to have to assert here until I fix it. That's fine. A2L, this currently only works with base 10. Now I can always convert the a hex string to a base 10 string and then run the A2L. Yeah, that's what I probably do. Can I do that easily right now? Convert to base 10 from base 16 string. Unfortunately, I don't have an easy function. It's easy to do, I just don't have the function. I won't write it. But anyway, assuming everything's fine, we get the value out. Now, if the value is greater than that low word of get range happens to be the maximum. Okay, now I should add two more functions called get range max and range min. But anyway, this here is the maximum. So if the value is bigger than the maximum, then I'm setting the window text to the low word, the same thing, of get range. So if it's greater than maximum, set it to maximum and B. Otherwise, if the value is less than the high word, which is the minimum value, same thing. I set the text to the minimum value of B. So that's how that works. Now if all of that fails and somehow someone manages to sneak in something bad, when we finally try to retrieve the pause, which is the actual value, okay, I have an assertion here. First, I get pause from the Windows message that you're supposed to send this message. That's going to return me an integer value. Now I've added this in range. That just checks to see if this value is within the maximum or minimum. Okay, so is it in between the high word and the low word? In fact, this in between thing that doesn't care if this is if one of these is bigger than the other. It switches, I think. Yeah, it does one or the other depending on which one is bigger. Okay, so if it's not within those, if it's not within the range, well, assert that it's in range, and if it's not in range, I'm returning something called middle pause, middle position, which is just the sum of the minimum and the maximum divided by 2. And I know that that is a valid range position. Now I should actually set the range to this value, but it's this should never happen, and that's why this is an assert rather than an if. You're going to get a valid number back, but it might not have anything to do with what you're seeing, and that just prevents the errors. And that's it. So those are the new functions to the spin button control.